The champagne flute trembled in my hand, condensation slipping between my fingers, like the life I thought I'd built with Marcus. 3 years. 3 years of anniversary dinners at Le Bernardin, where the sommelier knew his preferred Bordeaux, and the maitre d' saved us the corner table overlooking the city lights. 3 years of pretending I didn't notice the lipstick stains on his collar. The late nights that smelled of perfume that wasn't mine. The way his phone screen went dark whenever I walked into a room. I set the glass down on our marble kitchen counter, the one Marcus insisted we install during the renovation, the one that cost more than my mother made in 6 months, working double shifts at the textile factory. The bubbles rose and popped, celebrating nothing. He was 2 hours late. Again. The pregnancy test burned like a coal in my coat pocket. 2 pink lines. 48 hours of staring at them, wondering how to tell a man who could barely look at me that we'd created something together. Something that would bind us forever. Whether he wanted it or not. My phone buzzed. Not Marcus. Never Marcus. Working late. Don't wait up. M. The city stretched below our penthouse windows, a glittering sprawl of lives more important than mine. I pressed my forehead against the cold glass, watching my breath fog the view. 26 years old, and I'd somehow become invisible in my own marriage. The girl from Brooklyn, who waitressed her way through community college, who thought landing a junior analyst at Marcus's father's firm meant she'd finally made it. What a joke. I grabbed my coat, the wool one with the ripped lining I kept meaning to fix, and stuffed my wallet into my purse. The pregnancy test crinkled in my pocket. I couldn't stay here. Couldn't breathe in this pristine apartment that felt more like a showroom than a home. The walls were closing in, suffocating me with their designer paint and curated artwork. The November air bit through my coat the moment I stepped outside. Our building, Marcus's building really, paid for by family money I'd never touch, sat in Tribeca, where even the sidewalks seemed polished. I walked without direction, my sneakers scuffing against concrete still damp from afternoon rain. The streets blurred together. Upscale restaurants bleeding into boutique shops, all of them closed or closing. I ended up in a neighborhood I didn't recognize. The buildings here were older, the storefronts darker, a jazz club pulsed with muffled music, a bodega's neon sign flickered open 24 HRS, and tucked between them, almost hidden, a restaurant with fogged windows, and a single word etched in gold on the door. Valentino's. My stomach growled. I'd skipped lunch. Too nauseous from the pregnancy to eat, too anxious about tonight to try. Through the steamed glass, I could see warm light, white tablecloths, the shape of people enjoying their lives. The door was heavier than it looked. Inside, the air wrapped around me. Garlic, rosemary, something rich simmering in wine. My mouth watered despite the nausea. A hostess materialized, her dress black and elegant, her smile professional but not unkind. "Do you have a reservation?" "No, My voice cracked. "I just needed somewhere warm." Her expression softened. "The bar has a few seats. Carlo makes the best carbonara in Manhattan." She led me through the dining room. Real candles flickered on tables where couples leaned close, where groups laughed over wine bottles, where life happened in warm, golden abundance. The bar stretched along the back wall, dark wood gleaming under low pendant lights. She gestured to a corner stool, somewhat hidden from the main room. "Thank you," I whispered. The bartender, Carlo, I assumed, was older, with silver threading through his dark hair and eyes that had seen too much to be surprised by a woman dining alone. He slid a menu across the bar without comment, then returned to polishing glasses with methodical care. I ordered the carbonara and a sparkling water, ignoring how my fingers shook when I handed back the menu. The test in my pocket seemed to pulse with heat. 2 pink lines. A baby. Marcus's baby. The thought made my throat close. Around me, the restaurant hummed with life. A couple at a nearby table argued in Italian, their hands gesturing wildly. A server rushed past carrying a tray loaded with steaming plates. Someone laughed, loud and uninhibited. I was surrounded by people, yet I'd never felt more alone. The carbonara arrived in a wide bowl, steam rising, the egg and cheese glistening. I picked up my fork, and that's when I felt it. A shift in the air, like the barometric pressure dropping before a storm. The conversations didn't stop exactly, but they muted, softened. As if someone had turned down the volume on the entire room, I looked up. 3 men had entered through a back door I hadn't noticed. The first 2 wore dark suits that fit too well to be off the rack, their eyes scanning the room with professional assessment. But it was the 3rd man who made my breath catch. He moved like violence contained in an expensive suit. Tall, broad-shouldered, maybe early 30s. His suit was charcoal gray, tailored so perfectly it seemed molded to his frame. Dark hair swept back from a face that belonged in Renaissance paintings. Sharp cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, lips that looked cruel even in repose. But it was his eyes that stopped my heart. Dark, almost black, and cold as winter sea ice. He didn't walk through the restaurant. The restaurant parted for him. Carlo straightened behind the bar, his usual calm replaced by something that looked like reverence. Or fear. The hostess appeared from nowhere, murmuring something in rapid Italian. The man, because even thinking of him as a man felt inadequate, nodded once. A gesture so small it barely qualified as movement. His gaze swept the room, cataloging, assessing. I dropped my eyes to my carbonara, suddenly aware of how out of place I looked in my worn coat and 3-year-old jeans. These were not people in my league. This was not a restaurant for women who cried alone at their kitchen counters. I twisted pasta around my fork, trying to become smaller, invisible. A skill I'd perfected in Marcus's world of country club lunches and charity galas, where his mother introduced me as Marcus's wife, with a smile that never reached her eyes. Ms. Russo. The voice was dark velvet over gravel. It came from directly beside me. I turned my head slowly, and there he was, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Cedar and something darker, dangerous. Something that made my pulse spike in a way that had nothing to do with fear, and everything to do with the pregnancy hormones flooding my system. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at my coat, draped over the stool beside me. At the small white stick that had fallen from my pocket, lying on the dark wood like an accusation. The pregnancy test. His eyes, God, those eyes, moved from the test to my face with the slow deliberation of a predator deciding whether to pounce. Something flickered in their depths, gone too fast to name. I believe you dropped something. His accent was subtle, European maybe, smoothed by years in America but still there in the vowels. My hand shot out, grabbing the test and shoving it back into my pocket. My face burned hot enough to light the entire restaurant. I'm sorry. I didn't mean, you're sitting in my seat. The words were soft, almost gentle, but they landed like a physical blow. I looked around wildly. The bar had emptied without me noticing. Patrons migrating to tables, the stools on either side of me suddenly vacant. Only I remained, an island of ignorance in a sea of people who clearly knew better. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I fumbled for my purse, nearly knocking over my water glass. I'll move, I'll just sit. One word. A command dressed as a suggestion. Finish your dinner. He settled onto the stool beside me. Not the one my coat had occupied, but the one on my other side. Close. Too close. I could feel the heat radiating from his body. Could see the way his jacket pulled across his shoulders when he shifted. One of his men took position by the back door, the other near the front. Not sitting. Just watching. Carlo appeared instantly, setting down a glass of amber liquid without being asked. The man, because I still didn't have a name for him, only the certainty that he was dangerous, picked it up, took a slow sip, and finally turned to look at me fully. You're crying. I touched my face, surprised to find wetness on my cheeks. When had that started? I'm fine. You're celebrating alone in a restaurant you clearly didn't intend to find, holding a positive pregnancy test and crying into pasta. His lips curved, not quite a smile. This is not fine. The observation was so accurate, so brutally honest that I almost laughed. Instead, more tears came, hot and humiliating. It's my anniversary. Congratulations. He's not here. The words spilled out before I could stop them. He's never here. I cut myself off, horrified. Why was I telling this to a stranger? A stranger who looked like he could snap necks without creasing his suit. He's a fool. The man said it with absolute certainty, as if it were a medical diagnosis rather than an opinion. I should have left then. Should have thrown money on the bar and run back to my empty penthouse, my absent husband, my carefully constructed life. Instead, I took a shaky breath and met those dark eyes. I don't even know your name. Something shifted in his expression, not a smile, but close. Dante. Dante, I repeated. It fit him, classical, dangerous. Don't. He raised his glass in a gesture that might have been a toast or a warning. Names have power, Piccola. Once I know yours, you become real. And real things. He paused, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. Real things are harder to walk away from. I should have asked what he meant. Should have pressed for clarity. Instead, I picked up my fork and took another bite of carbonara, my hands steadier now, despite the tears still wet on my face. We sat in silence, me eating, him drinking, his men standing sentinel, while the restaurant continued its muted rhythm around us. When I'd scraped the bowl clean, Dante gestured to Carlo, another. And bread, she's too thin. I'm fine, I protested. You're eating for two. His eyes dropped to my pocket, where the test had disappeared, and crying alone on your anniversary. We've established that fine is not a word that applies to you tonight. Carlo brought more food without comment. Bruschetta, fresh bread with olive oil, a small plate of roasted vegetables. I stared at the abundance, my throat tight. I can't pay for all this. You think I would let you? Dante's voice dropped lower, dangerous. In my restaurant, women who cry eat for free. It's a rule. Your restaurant? I looked around with new eyes, the deference, the cleared seat, the way everyone moved around him like water around a stone. My restaurant, he confirmed. Among other things, the implications hung heavy in the air. I should have been afraid, should have recognized the signs, the guards, the automatic obedience, the cold authority in every word. Instead, I felt something else. Something warm and reckless blooming in my chest. Thank you, I whispered. For the food. For not asking questions. Everyone has questions, Piccola. I simply choose not to waste time on ones that don't matter. He finished his drink, set down the glass with precise care. The only question that matters is what you're going to do now. Now? You have information he doesn't have. Dante's gaze fixed on my pocket again. Information that changes everything. So what will you do? Go home to your empty apartment and your absent husband? Wait for him to notice you're alive? The words cut clean through every excuse I'd been making for 3 years. What else can I do? You can vanish. The suggestion was so unexpected, so impossible, that I laughed, actually laughed. The sound brittle and sharp. Vanish? I have a job, an apartment, a husband. A job that underpays you, an apartment in his name, a husband who isn't there. Each point landed like a blade. What exactly are you holding on to, Piccola? I opened my mouth to argue, but nothing came. Because he was right. God help me. This terrifying stranger was absolutely right. Dante stood, buttoning his jacket with precise movements. His men straightened, ready. He pulled a card from his pocket, heavy stock, embossed with just a phone number, and placed it on the bar beside my plate. When you're ready to stop being invisible, he said quietly. Call that number. I'll make sure you're seen. Then he was moving toward the back door, his men falling into formation, and I was alone again at the bar with a half-eaten meal and a business card that felt like a grenade in my hands. I sat there long after they'd gone, until Carlo gently suggested I might be more comfortable at a table, until the dinner rush faded and the restaurant settled into late-night quiet. The card stayed on the bar, catching the light, impossible to ignore. Outside, rain had started again, turning the streets slick and dangerous. I tucked the card into my pocket beside the pregnancy test. 2 impossible things, both capable of destroying my carefully constructed life. My phone buzzed. Marcus, finally, staying at the office. Don't wait up. M. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it, pulled out Dante's card, and walked out into the rain without looking back. The rain soaked through my coat before I'd walked 3 blocks. Cold water dripped from my hair, down my neck, into the collar of my shirt. I should have hailed a cab, should have gone home to the penthouse with its heated floors and pristine towels. Instead, I walked. The card in my pocket felt like it was burning through the fabric, a phone number. Nothing else. No name, no address. Just 10 digits that somehow felt more intimate than anything Marcus had given me in months. I found myself in front of a 24-hour diner, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I slid into a corner booth, as far from the windows as possible. A waitress with tired eyes and a stained apron brought me coffee without asking. "Rough night, honey?" You could say that. I wrapped my hands around the mug, letting the heat seep into my frozen fingers. She patted my shoulder, a brief maternal gesture, and left me alone with my thoughts, which was dangerous, because my thoughts kept circling back to Dante, to the way he'd looked at me like he could see straight through the carefully constructed facade I showed the world, to the certainty in his voice when he'd called Marcus a fool. You can vanish. The idea was insane. Women didn't just vanish from their lives because a terrifying stranger in an expensive suit suggested it. Women with jobs and apartments and husbands, even absent ones, didn't throw everything away on a whim, but I wasn't just a woman anymore. I was carrying a child, Marcus's child, a child who deserved better than a father who couldn't be bothered to show up for his own anniversary. My phone sat on the table between my coffee mug and the sugar dispenser. 11 missed calls now, all from Vivian, Marcus's mother. None from Marcus himself. I picked it up, thumb hovering over Vivian's name. Then I set it back down and pulled out Dante's card instead. The number seemed to pulse in the diner's harsh light. I could almost hear his voice. "When you're ready to stop being invisible." Like a dare wrapped in concern. What would happen if I called? What did make sure you're seen even mean? My other hand drifted to my stomach, still flat, still showing no evidence of the life growing inside. 2 pink lines. That's all it took to change everything. 2 pink lines and a stranger's dark eyes seeing me. Really seeing me. For the first time in years. I left the diner as dawn broke over the city, the rain finally stopping. The streets were quiet, that strange in-between time when night workers headed home and early risers hadn't yet emerged. My phone buzzed again. Vivian. I declined the call. The penthouse felt different when I finally returned. Colder. Emptier. Marcus's absence was no longer just an inconvenience, it was a statement. He'd chosen not to be here. Again, on our anniversary, knowing I'd be waiting. I stripped off my wet clothes, leaving them in a pile on the bathroom floor. The pregnancy test sat on the counter where I'd left it that morning, those 2 pink lines still screaming their truth. I picked it up, studying it in the mirror's reflection. A baby. Our baby. Except there was no our anymore, was there? There was Marcus, living his separate life in his separate world. And there was me, invisible and forgotten. I pulled on dry clothes, leggings, an oversized sweater, thick socks, and made myself tea. Chamomile, because the pregnancy book said it was safe. I'd bought them secretly, hiding them under the bed where Marcus wouldn't find them, where Marcus wouldn't bother to look even if they were sitting on the kitchen table. The morning stretched ahead, empty. It was Saturday. Marcus rarely came home on Saturdays anymore. Work, he'd say, important clients, as if I didn't know the truth, as if I couldn't smell the perfume, couldn't see the hotel charges on credit card statements he thought I didn't check. I sat on the couch with my tea and Dante's card, watching the city wake up through floor-to-ceiling windows. People rushed along sidewalks below, purposeful and alive. I used to be one of them, before Marcus, before I'd traded my studio apartment in Brooklyn and my waitressing shifts for this gilded cage. You can vanish. My phone rang. Vivian again. This time, I answered. Emilia. Thank God. Her voice was sharp, cultivated, everything I wasn't. Where is Marcus? He's not answering his phone. I don't know, Vivian. He didn't come home last night. A pause, then carefully. He told me you two had dinner plans. We did. He never showed up. Another pause, longer this time. I could practically hear her calculating, deciding how to spin this into somehow being my fault. Well, I'm sure he had a good reason. The merger has been very stressful. It's our anniversary. The words came out flat, emotionless. Yes, well, marriage is about understanding, Amelia, about supporting your husband's career. Perhaps if you made more of an effort too. I hung up. My hands shook as I set the phone down. 3 years of her subtle criticisms, her carefully worded suggestions that I wasn't quite good enough for her son. 3 years of swallowing my pride, my anger, my self-respect. The card felt like a lifeline or a noose. I couldn't decide which. I picked up my phone again, this time opening a new contact. My thumb hovered over the keypad. Just 10 digits. That's all it would take. When you're ready to stop being invisible. I was so tired of being invisible. I typed in the number before I could overthink it. But I didn't hit call. Not yet. Instead, I sat there, staring at it, wondering what kind of woman I was becoming. The kind who called strange men, the kind who ran away from her problems instead of facing them, or the kind who finally chose herself. The door opened. I jumped, nearly dropping my phone. Marcus walked in, still wearing his suit from yesterday, looking exhausted and rumpled. He didn't see me on the couch. He never saw me anymore. Marcus, he startled, turning. You're awake. It's 10 in the morning. Right. Yeah, he ran a hand through his hair, not meeting my eyes. Listen, about last night, where were you? The office, I told you. Don't lie to me! The words came out stronger than I felt. Not today. Not anymore. Something flickered across his face. Guilt. Annoyance. It was gone too fast to tell. I had a late meeting. It ran long. I crashed on the office couch. On our anniversary. It's just a date, Em. It doesn't mean... He stopped, seeming to realize how that sounded. Look, I'm sorry. I should have called. I should have been here. But this merger is important, and... I'm pregnant. The words hung between us like a bomb. Marcus's face went blank, all the color draining away. He took a step back, as if I'd struck him. What? I'm pregnant. I stood up, holding my ground even though my legs felt weak. 8 weeks. I found out 2 days ago. He stared at me. Through me. For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, are you sure? I took 3 tests. Yes, I'm sure. Jesus. He turned away, hands on his hips, Christ, breathing hard. We can't. He spun back. You need to take care of it. The room tilted. Take care of it? We're not ready for a baby. My career is just taking off, and you... He gestured vaguely at me. This isn't the right time. The right time? I repeated the words slowly, tasting their poison. When would be the right time, Marcus? When you actually come home? When you stop sleeping with your assistant? His face hardened. I don't know what you think you know. Her name is Jessica. She wears Chanel No. 5. You've been fucking her for 6 months. The words felt good. Powerful. Did you think I was stupid? Did you think I wouldn't notice? This isn't about her. No, it's about you. About the fact that you can't be bothered to show up for your own wife, but you expect me to just, what? Erase our baby because it's inconvenient? Don't be dramatic. His voice went cold, the tone he used in business meetings. We both know this marriage isn't working. A baby won't fix that. It'll only make things worse. The truth of it hit harder than his words. He was right. Our marriage was a corpse we'd been pretending was still breathing, but hearing him say it, seeing the disgust in his eyes when he looked at me, that was something else entirely. Get out. Marcus blinked. What? Get out. Go to Jessica's. Go to the office. I don't care. Just get out of my sight. This is my apartment. Then I'll leave. I grabbed my phone, my purse, the coat that was still damp from last night. File the divorce papers. I won't fight you. Wait. He reached for me, but I jerked away. Let's talk about this. Let's be rational. Rational? I laughed, high and sharp. You want rational? Fine. Rationally, our marriage is over. Rationally, you're a cheating bastard who can't even pretend to love me anymore. Rationally, I'm worth more than this. I walked past him, heading for the door. He caught my arm. Where are you going? I looked at his hand on my arm, then at his face. I'm vanishing. His grip tightened. Don't be stupid. You have nowhere to go. Let go of me, Marcus. Not until you calm down and we discuss this like adults. The slap happened before I'd consciously decided to do it. My palm connected with his cheek, the sound sharp in the quiet apartment. Marcus released me immediately, his hand flying to his face, shock written across his features. Don't ever touch me again. I walked out. Down the hallway, past the doorman who carefully avoided looking at me, out into the November morning that smelled like rain and new beginnings. My heart hammered against my ribs, adrenaline making my hands shake. I pulled out my phone, found the number I'd entered earlier, and this time, I didn't hesitate. The phone rang once, twice. On the third ring, a voice answered. Not Dante. Someone else. Younger, with a thick accent. Yes? My voice cracked. I need to speak to Dante. Who is this? He gave me this number, last night, at Valentino's. He said... I took a breath. He said to call when I was ready to stop being invisible. A pause. Then... Wait, the line went quiet, but not dead. I could hear voices in the background, speaking rapid Italian. Footsteps. A door closing. Then, Piccola. His voice sent a shiver down my spine. Dante. He sounded unsurprised, as if he'd been expecting my call. I need help. Words came out small, broken. Where are you? Outside my building. I left. I told him about the baby and he... My throat closed. He wants me to get rid of it. Silence. When Dante spoke again, his voice was soft, deadly. Give me the address. I rattled it off, my brain on autopilot. Don't move. Someone will be there in 5 minutes. Do you understand? Don't go back inside. Don't speak to anyone. Just wait. Okay. Emilia. The sound of my name on his lips made my breath catch. He knew. Somehow he'd found out. You did the right thing. The line went dead. I stood on the sidewalk, clutching my phone, watching expensive cars pass by. 5 minutes felt like an eternity. I half expected Marcus to come down, to drag me back upstairs, to tell me I was being hysterical. But Marcus didn't come. Instead, a black SUV pulled up to the curb, its windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. The back door opened. A man emerged, one of Dante's guards from last night, his face impassive. Ms. Russo, please. He gestured to the car. I should have been afraid, should have questioned what I was doing, getting into a vehicle with armed men who worked for someone I'd met exactly once. Instead, I climbed in. The interior was leather and luxury, warm and safe. The guard closed the door gently, then got into the front passenger seat. The driver, another man in a dark suit, pulled smoothly into traffic. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them asked questions. They simply drove, navigating through Manhattan with practiced ease, heading away from Tribeca, away from my life. I leaned my head back against the seat, closing my eyes. My phone buzzed. Marcus. Then Vivian. Then Marcus again. I turned it off. Where are we going? I finally asked. The guard in the passenger seat glanced back. Somewhere safe, Miss Russo. The boss will meet you there. The boss. Dante. I was really doing this, running away with the help of a man I didn't know, leaving behind everything I'd built, everything I'd tried to become. But as the city blurred past the windows, I didn't feel fear. I felt something else. I felt free. The SUV drove for 40 minutes, leaving Manhattan behind. I watched through tinted windows as the city gave way to quieter streets, then to tree-lined neighborhoods I'd never seen before. We crossed a bridge, I couldn't tell which one, and entered an area where houses sat back from the road, hidden behind gates and old-growth trees. Finally, we turned onto a private drive. Iron gates swung open automatically, closing behind us with a decisive clang that made my pulse spike. The driveway curved through manicured grounds, past gardens that probably looked beautiful in summer, but now stood dormant under gray November skies. The house, No, the estate, materialized like something from a movie. Stone and glass, modern lines softened by ivy and age. Not ostentatious, but undeniably expensive. The kind of place that whispered old money and older secrets. The SUV stopped in front of massive wooden doors. The guard opened my door, offering his hand. I took it, stepping out onto gravel that crunched beneath my sneakers. The air here smelled different, cleaner. Like pine and earth instead of exhaust and sidewalk steam. "This way, Ms. Russo." The doors opened before we reached them. A woman stood in the entrance, late 50s, steel gray hair pulled into a neat bun, wearing simple black slacks and a cream sweater. Her face was kind but assessing, taking in my rumpled clothes and wild hair with a single glance. "I'm Lucia," she said, her accent thicker than Dante's. "Welcome. Please, come inside." The interior took my breath away. High ceilings, warm wood floors, furniture that managed to be both elegant and comfortable. Artwork on the walls, real artwork, not the pretentious pieces Marcus's decorator had chosen. Windows everywhere, letting in gray morning light. "You must be cold," Lucia continued, already moving deeper into the house, "and hungry. When did you last eat?" I tried to remember. "The carbonara last night. Nothing since." "Last night." She made a disapproving sound. "Come." The kitchen. I followed her through rooms that seemed to go on forever, each one more beautiful than the last. The kitchen was enormous, all marble counters and professional appliances, but somehow still felt warm. Lived in. A pot of something simmered on the stove, filling the air with the scent of tomatoes and herbs. "Sit." Lucia pointed to a stool at the island. "I'll make you tea. Something gentle for the baby." I froze. "How did you—" "Dante told me." She bustled around the kitchen with practiced efficiency. "He says you need a safe place. So here you are, safe." I don't understand. I sank onto the stool, my legs suddenly weak. Why is he helping me? He doesn't even know me. Lucia's hands paused in their work. She turned to face me, her dark eyes, so much like Dante's, studying my face. "My nephew has always had a weakness for those who need protection, especially women. Especially—" She trailed off, something sad flickering across her features. "You remind him of someone. Who?" "That's his story to tell." She set a cup of tea in front of me, something herbal that smelled like chamomile and mint. "For now, you rest. You're safe here. No one can reach you." The tea was perfect, soothing the nausea that had been building since I'd confronted Marcus. I wrapped my hands around the cup, letting the warmth seep into my bones. "Ms. Russo." The guard from the SUV appeared in the doorway. "Your phone has been ringing, multiple calls from the same numbers." He held out my phone, which I'd left in the car. The screen showed 23 missed calls. Marcus, Vivian, Marcus's father, even Jessica, his assistant turned mistress. "They're looking for me," I whispered. "They won't find you," Lucia said firmly. "Not unless you want them to." I stared at the phone, at all those missed calls representing people who hadn't cared about me until I disappeared. I should call them back, tell them I'm okay. "Are you?" Lucia's question was gentle but pointed. Okay? Was I? I'd walked out on my husband, accepted help from a stranger who was clearly dangerous, and was now sitting in a mansion I couldn't have afforded to breathe in. I was pregnant, alone, and had no idea what came next. "No," I admitted. "I'm not okay." "Then rest first, decisions later." She ladled soup into a bowl, the same rich tomato scent from the stove. "Eat. Then Dante will explain everything. Where is he?" "Handling business." Her tone suggested I shouldn't ask what kind. "He'll be home this afternoon." Home. As if this palace were just a house. As if men like Dante, men with guards and restaurant empires and the kind of power that made people step aside, had normal homes. I ate the soup because Lucia watched me like a hawk, because my baby needed food even if I didn't feel hungry, because it gave me something to do besides spiral into panic. It was delicious, rich and complex, tasting of slow-simmered hours and generational recipes. When I'd finished, Lucia led me upstairs. The bedroom she showed me was larger than my entire Brooklyn studio had been. A 4-poster bed with white linens, windows overlooking gardens and forest beyond. An ensuite bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. "Rest," Lucia said. "I'll bring you fresh clothes. You're safe here, child. Whatever happens next, you're safe." She left, closing the door softly behind her. I stood in the center of the room, suddenly overwhelmed. This morning I'd been in my penthouse, confronting my cheating husband. Now I was in a stranger's mansion, hidden away like some fairy tale princess. Except this wasn't a fairy tale. Dante wasn't a prince. And I was far too old to believe in happy endings. I moved to the window, looking out at grounds that stretched into woods. Somewhere in the distance, I could see the iron gates we'd driven through. Between me and freedom. Or between me and danger. I couldn't tell which. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, seeing a new message from Marcus. "Where are you? We need to talk. Don't be stupid about this. Don't be stupid." As if leaving a man who cheated on me and demanded I abort our baby was stupid. As if staying would have been the smart choice. I deleted the message. Then I turned off the phone completely and set it on the dresser. The bed called to me. Soft, safe. I kicked off my sneakers and crawled under the covers fully dressed, suddenly exhausted beyond measure. The adrenaline was crashing, leaving me hollow and shaking. I must have slept, because the next thing I knew, the light through the windows had changed. Late afternoon sun, gold and gentle. And there was a presence in the room. Dante sat in a chair by the window, so still I might have missed him if not for the intensity of his gaze. He'd changed from last night. No suit, just dark jeans and a black Henley that showed off the breadth of his shoulders. Somehow he looked more dangerous this way. More real. "You're awake," he said quietly. I sat up, pushing hair from my face, suddenly conscious of how I must look. "How long have you been there? An hour? Maybe more." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, those dark eyes never leaving my face. "Lucia said you wouldn't eat unless she watched. That you tried to call your husband back." "I didn't call him." "Good." The word was soft but final. "He doesn't deserve to know where you are." I pulled the blanket tighter around myself. "I don't understand why you're doing this. Why you care." Dante was quiet for a long moment, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. Finally he stood, moving to the window, his back to me. 5 years ago, I was engaged. His voice was different now, rougher. Her name was Sophia. She was everything. Light and laughter in a world that didn't have much of either. He paused. Her family didn't approve. I was the wrong kind of man, from the wrong kind of world, but she didn't care. She said love was enough. I stayed silent, sensing this was a story he rarely told. She got pregnant. His shoulders tensed. We were happy, planning the wedding, planning our life. And then her father found out. He gave her an ultimatum: leave me or be cut off from the family. From everything she'd ever known. What did she do? She chose me. He turned. And the pain in his eyes was raw, terrible, for 3 days. She chose me. Then they found her. Her brothers. They took her to a clinic, told her it was just to talk. But they didn't let her leave until he stopped, jaw clenched, until the baby was gone. Oh God. My hand went to my stomach instinctively. She called me after, crying, saying she was sorry, that they'd forced her, that she'd tried to fight. His voice went flat. She killed herself that night, pills and vodka in her childhood bedroom. The room felt too small, too quiet. I couldn't breathe. I found her, Dante continued. Her father wouldn't let me see her before the funeral, but I have people. I broke into the house, into her room, and she was just lying there, like she was sleeping, except she wasn't. She'd never wake up again. Dante. So when I see a woman crying alone in my restaurant, holding a pregnancy test, talking about a husband who doesn't show up, he moved closer to the bed, his presence overwhelming. When I see a man who would tell that woman to take care of it as if a child is a problem to be solved, I care, Piccola. I care very much. The pieces clicked into place, the immediate help, the safe house. the protective rage I'd sensed under his controlled exterior. "I'm not her," I said quietly. "No, you're not." He sat on the edge of the bed, close enough to touch but not touching. "You're stronger. You walked away. She couldn't. I had nowhere else to go. You had my number. You could have called anyone, but you called me." His hand lifted, hovering near my face, then dropping. "That takes courage. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing." The ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Lucia says you're 8 weeks along." "Yes, and you want to keep it." It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. "Yes, even if Marcus doesn't. Even if it means doing this alone." "You're not alone." The certainty in his voice made my chest tight. "Not anymore. You don't owe me anything. This isn't about owing." He stood abruptly, as if sitting so close had become unbearable. "You'll stay here, as long as you need. Lucia will take care of you, and my men will make sure no one bothers you." "What about Marcus?" "He'll look for me." Something dark crossed Dante's face. "Let him look. He won't find you. And if he somehow does..." He left the threat unfinished, but I heard it anyway. "I should probably go back," I said, even though the thought made me sick. "Face him. Deal with the divorce properly." "No." The word cracked like a whip. "Not yet. Not until we know you're safe." "Safe from what?" "Marcus isn't violent. He's just a man who doesn't want complications." Dante's eyes burned. "Men like that are dangerous in different ways. They won't hit you, but they'll break you down until you believe you deserve nothing better. Until you think leaving is impossible." His words hit too close to home. "You don't know him." "I know men." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Rest more. Eat dinner with us tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out what comes next." "Us?" "Lucia and I. Sometimes my cousin Marco. We're family here, Piccola. And now so are you." He left before I could argue, the door clicking shut with finality. I sat in the gathering darkness, his words echoing in my head. "You're family now." I'd never had family. My mother had died when I was 19. No siblings, no extended relatives who gave a damn. Marcus's family had never accepted me, had always made it clear I was temporary, insufficient, wrong. But this dangerous stranger, and his protective aunt and his guarded mansion. This was family? My phone buzzed from the dresser. I turned it back on without thinking. Another message from Marcus. "I know you're upset, but this is childish. Come home so we can discuss this like adults. M." I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I typed a reply. "File the papers. I'm not coming back." I hit send before I could second-guess myself, then powered off the phone again. Through the window, I watched lights come on across the grounds. The estate transformed in the dusk, becoming something almost magical. Safe. Protected. A prison or a sanctuary. I still couldn't tell which, but for the first time in 3 years I could breathe. Dinner was an intimate affair in a formal dining room that somehow felt warm despite its grandeur. Lucia had set 3 places at one end of a table that could easily seat 20. Candles flickered between us, casting dancing shadows on oil paintings of people who shared Dante's dark eyes and sharp features. "My grandfather," Dante said, catching me staring at a particularly stern portrait. "He built this house in 1952. Bought the land for nothing, filled it with everything. It's beautiful," I said quietly. "It's a fortress." He poured wine for himself and Lucia, then filled my glass with sparkling water without asking. The gesture was small but attentive, as if he'd already memorized what I could and couldn't have. My grandfather understood that safety requires walls, high ones. Lucia brought out dish after dish, roasted chicken with herbs, vegetables that tasted like they'd been grown on the property, bread so fresh it steamed when she broke it open. I ate because she watched, because my baby needed it, because the food was too good to refuse. "You're quiet," Dante observed, his eyes never leaving my face even as he ate. "I'm trying to understand this." I gestured vaguely at the room, at him, at everything. "Why you're helping me. What you expect in return." "Expect?" His eyebrow rose. I expect you to eat, rest, and let that baby grow healthy. That's all. Nobody does something for nothing. You think I want something from you? He set down his fork, giving me his full attention. What could you possibly have that I need, Piccola? The question should have been insulting. Instead, it felt honest. What did I have? A failed marriage, a job I'd quit showing up to, a bank account Marcus controlled. I was nothing. Nobody, exactly. I whispered. Dante's jaw tightened. You think being without money means being without value? Doesn't it? No. The word was hard, final. You carried yourself with dignity when your husband abandoned you. You protected your child when he demanded you destroy it. You had the courage to walk away from everything you knew. He leaned forward. That's worth more than all the money in Marcus's accounts. Lucia made a small approving sound, refilling my water glass. My husband, I started, then stopped. Ex-husband, I guess. He'd say I'm being impulsive, emotional, that I'm not thinking clearly. Your ex-husband is a coward who hides his cruelty behind reason. Dante's voice went cold. I've known men like him. They convince you that your feelings don't matter, that wanting basic respect is unreasonable. They make you small so they can feel big. Every word landed like a physical blow, because every word was true. How many times had Marcus dismissed my concerns as overreacting? How many times had he made me feel crazy for wanting him to care? I should hate him, I said quietly. But mostly I just feel empty. Hate comes later. Dante picked up his wine, swirling it thoughtfully. First comes grief. You're mourning the man you thought he was. How do you know so much about this? I told you about Sophia. His knuckles whitened around the glass. After she died, I spent years being angry. At her family, at myself, at God. But before the anger, there was just nothing. An emptiness so big I thought it would swallow me whole. Lucia reached over, covering his hand with hers, a gesture of comfort, of understanding. They stayed like that for a moment, connected by shared pain, and I felt like an intruder on something private. I'm sorry, I said, for your loss. For bringing up bad memories. Don't apologize. Dante pulled his hand back, his mask of control sliding into place. Sophia's memory is why you're here, why you're safe. She couldn't escape, but you did. That matters. We finished dinner in heavy silence. Lucia cleared plates, refusing my offer to help. You're a guest, she said firmly. Guests don't work. After dinner, Dante led me to a room I hadn't seen before, a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and leather furniture that looked like it had been broken in over decades. A fire crackled in the fireplace, making the room feel like something from another century. Sit, he said, gesturing to a couch near the fire. I sat, tucking my legs under me. Dante remained standing, one arm on the mantel, staring into the flames. The firelight cast his face in sharp relief, all angles and shadows, beautiful and terrible at once. We need to discuss practicalities, he said finally. Your husband will look for you. Ex-husband. The papers aren't filed yet. Legally, he still has rights. He could claim you're unstable, that he's worried about your safety, force you back. Ice trickled down my spine. He wouldn't. Wouldn't he? Dante turned to face me. You left. You're not answering calls. You're pregnant with his child. Men like Marcus don't accept loss well, especially when it damages their reputation. What do I do? You stay here. Let me handle him. Handle him how? His smile was sharp, dangerous. Marcus works at his father's investment firm, yes? Harrison and Associates? Yes, but they're under investigation. SEC fraud charges. It hasn't gone public yet, but it will. He pulled his phone from his pocket, scrolled through something. In approximately 72 hours, the news will break. Marcus and his father will be too busy saving themselves to worry about a missing wife. I stared at him. How do you know that? I make it my business to know things. He pocketed the phone. Especially about men who hurt women I care about. You don't care about me. You don't even know me. I know you're brave. I know you're protecting your child. I know you deserve better than what you had. He moved closer, sitting on the opposite end of the couch. That's enough. The fire popped, sending sparks up the chimney. Outside, wind rattled the windows. The house creaked and settled around us, comfortable in its age. "What happens after?" I asked. "After the investigation, after the divorce. What do I do then?" "Whatever you want." He said it like it was simple. "You want to go back to school? I'll pay for it. You want to open a business? I'll fund it. You want to disappear completely, start over somewhere new? I'll make it happen." "Why?" "Because I can." He met my eyes. "Because someone should have done this for Sophia. Because you called me when you had nowhere else to go, and I don't take that lightly. I can't let you pay for everything. That's not—" "You can, and you will." His tone left no room for argument. "You're carrying a child. Your job is to stay healthy and safe. Everything else, I handle." It should have felt suffocating. This man I barely knew, taking over my life, making decisions. But instead, it felt like relief. Like someone had finally seen how tired I was of holding everything together alone. "What do you get out of this?" I asked again, needing to understand. Dante was quiet for a long moment, the fire reflecting in his dark eyes. "Peace," he finally said. "Knowing I saved someone this time." The raw honesty in his voice cracked something in my chest. I thought about Sophia, about a young woman who'd chosen love and lost everything, about Dante, finding her body, living with that image for 5 years. "I'm not her," I said again, softer this time. "I know." He stood abruptly, as if the proximity had become too much. "It's late. You should rest." But I didn't want to rest, didn't want to go back to that beautiful bedroom and lie alone with my thoughts. "Can I stay here? By the fire?" Something flickered in his expression. "Of course." He moved to leave, but I stopped him. "Stay, please, I swallowed hard. "I don't want to be alone right now." Dante hesitated, his hand on the door frame. Then he nodded, returning to his spot on the couch. Close, but not too close. Present, but not crowding. We sat in silence, watching the fire burn down to embers. At some point, Lucia came in with blankets, tucking one around my shoulders without a word. She left, and still we sat. "Tell me about Sophia," I said quietly. "The good parts, before everything went wrong." Dante's jaw worked. Then, slowly, he began to talk. About a girl who loved terrible movies and good wine, who laughed too loud in restaurants and cried at animal shelter commercials, who'd wanted 3 children in a house by the sea, who'd seen good in him when everyone else saw danger. His voice went soft when he talked about her, the hard edges smoothing into something almost tender. And I realized this wasn't just about saving me. This was about honoring her, about making her death mean something, by ensuring mine didn't go the same way. "She would have liked you," he said eventually, his eyes distant. "Sophia always liked strong women." "I'm not strong. You're here, aren't you? Despite everything. That's the definition of strength." My eyes grew heavy, the warmth of the fire and the safety of the room pulling me toward sleep. I fought it, not wanting this moment to end, not wanting to lose the strange connection forming between us. "Rest, Piccola." Dante's voice seemed to come from far away. "I'll keep watch. You don't have to. I want to." Those 3 words settled over me like a benediction. Someone wanted to watch over me, wanted to keep me safe, not out of obligation or duty, but because he chose to. I let my eyes close, Dante's presence a solid anchor in the darkness. The last thing I felt before sleep claimed me was the whisper of a blanket being pulled higher, tucking me in with surprising gentleness. When I woke, gray dawn light filled the library. I was still on the couch, covered in blankets, a pillow under my head. The fire had burned out, and Dante sat in a chair across from me, exactly where he'd been when I fell asleep, his eyes open and watchful. "Did you sleep at all?" I asked, my voice rough. "I don't need much sleep." I sat up, my neck protesting. "You can't watch me 24 hours a day." "I can do whatever I want," but there was no heat in the words. "Lucia made breakfast. You should eat." We walked to the kitchen together, the house quiet around us. Lucia had prepared enough food for an army. Eggs, bacon, pastries, fruit, yogurt. I ate mechanically, aware of both of them watching to make sure I finished. My phone sat on the counter where Lucia must have brought it from my room. 13 new messages. I picked it up, scrolling through them with detachment. Marcus, increasingly angry. This is ridiculous. You're being childish. Call me immediately. Vivian, condescending. Whatever Marcus did, I'm sure it can be resolved. Don't throw away your marriage over pride. Marcus's father, cold. Your behavior reflects poorly on this family. Cease this nonsense at once. And then, from a number I didn't recognize, I know where you are. You can't hide forever. My hands shook. Dante plucked the phone from my fingers, reading the message. His expression went deadly calm. When did this come through? Just now. I don't know that number. He was already moving, pulling out his own phone, barking orders in Italian. Within seconds, 3 men appeared. Guards I hadn't seen before. All armed, all focused. What's happening? I asked, fear spiking. Someone is threatening you. Dante's voice was ice. That doesn't happen. Not while you're under my protection. He made more calls. Rapid-fire Italian I couldn't follow. The guards dispersed. Lucia appeared, pulling me close. It's okay, she murmured. Dante will handle this. But watching him pace, watching the cold fury in his eyes, I realized something terrifying. I'd traded one kind of danger for another. Marcus might have broken my heart, but Dante? Dante could start wars, and he was prepared to start one for me. The estate transformed into a fortress within hours. More guards appeared, positioning themselves at every entrance. Cameras were checked and rechecked. Dante disappeared into an office I hadn't known existed, his voice a low growl through the closed door as he made call after call. Lucia kept me in the kitchen, plying me with tea and small pastries I couldn't taste. My mind was spinning, that text message replaying on a loop. I know where you are. Who would send that? I asked for the 5th time. Could be anyone. Lucia's face was grim. Your husband, his family, someone they hired. She paused. Or someone else entirely. What do you mean? Before she could answer, Dante strode in, his phone pressed to his ear. He looked at me, and something in his expression made my blood run cold. Find him, he said into the phone. I don't care how. Find him and bring him to me. He ended the call, his jaw tight. We need to talk, privately. Lucia squeezed my shoulder once, then left. Dante waited until we were alone before speaking. The message was sent from a burner phone. Untraceable. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. But the timing is interesting. You've been gone less than 48 hours, and someone already knows you're here. How is that possible? I didn't tell anyone. I know. His eyes were dark, calculating. Which means either someone followed you here, or someone has been watching you longer than we thought. Ice flooded my veins. Watching me? Your husband is connected to some unsavory people through his father's business. The fraud investigation isn't just about bad investments, Piccola. It's about money laundering, ties to organizations that don't take kindly to loose ends. I'm a loose end? My voice came out small. You're a pregnant wife who left suddenly. Who might know things, might talk to authorities. He moved closer. In their world, that makes you a liability. But I don't know anything. Marcus never told me about his work. They don't know that. He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo. Do you recognize this man? I stared at the screen. Dark hair, forgettable face. The kind of man who could disappear in a crowd. No. Should I? He's been parked outside your building for 3 days. My people noticed him yesterday when they were checking on potential threats. He swiped to another photo. And this is him outside Valentino's the night we met. My stomach dropped. He was there? Following you. Probably has been for weeks. Dante's expression was grim. The question is whether he's working for Marcus or for Marcus's business partners. Does it matter? Yes. He pocketed his phone. If it's Marcus, he's just trying to track down his wife. Annoying but manageable. If it's the people Marcus is involved with? He didn't finish, but he didn't need to. What do I do? You stay here. You stay safe. And you let me handle this. He cupped my face, his thumb brushing my cheekbone. The gesture was surprisingly gentle for someone so dangerous. I won't let anyone hurt you. Do you understand? No one touches what's mine. I'm not yours, I whispered. But there was no conviction in it. Aren't you? His eyes searched mine. You called me. You trusted me with your life and your child's life. That makes you mine, Piccola, whether you accept it yet or not. The possessiveness should have frightened me. Instead, it sent heat curling through my chest. When was the last time anyone had claimed me, protected me? Marcus had always kept me at arm's length, a pretty accessory for social events, but never truly his. Dante looked at me like I was something precious, worth fighting for, worth protecting at all costs. The investigation goes public tomorrow, he continued, stepping back, putting professional distance between us again. Marcus will be arrested, along with his father. The media will be everywhere. You need to stay invisible until the dust settles. And then we file your divorce papers, make it clear you left before any criminal activity came to light, distance you from everything. His jaw tightened. And we deal with whoever sent that message. A knock on the door interrupted us. One of the guards entered, speaking rapidly in Italian. Dante's expression darkened with each word. What? I asked when the guard left. What's wrong? Your husband just hired a private investigator, very expensive, very good at finding people who don't want to be found. He pulled out his phone again, typing something. But not better than my people. Dante, I need to go out. Handle some things. He was already moving toward the door, then paused. Marco will be here within the hour. My cousin. He'll stay with you while I'm gone. I don't need a babysitter. You need protection. His voice left no room for argument. Don't leave the house. Don't answer any calls from numbers you don't recognize. And if anything feels wrong, you tell Marco immediately. Understood? I nodded, unable to form words around the fear clogging my throat. Dante crossed back to me in 3 strides, pulling me against him in a fierce embrace. He smelled like cedar, and danger and safety all at once. His heart beat steady against my ear. An anchor in the chaos. I'll come back. He murmured into my hair. I promise. Nothing will happen to you. Then he was gone, taking half the guards with him, leaving me alone with Lucia and the crushing weight of reality. I'd run from one dangerous situation straight into another. The difference was, this time someone was fighting for me instead of against me. Marco arrived exactly when Dante said he would. A younger version of his cousin, maybe 25, with the same dark eyes and dangerous grace. He nodded to me politely but didn't try to make conversation, simply positioning himself where he could watch both the entrances and me. The day crawled by. I tried to read, but the words swam on the page. Tried to watch television, but couldn't focus. Mostly I paced, my hand drifting to my stomach, to the tiny life growing there that had inadvertently set all of this in motion. Lucia made lunch, then dinner. Neither of us ate much. The house felt too quiet without Dante's commanding presence, too empty despite the guards stationed at every door. Night fell. Still no word. I was in the library, staring into another fire, when my phone buzzed. Not a text. A call. From Marcus. I stared at his name on the screen, my finger hovering over the decline button, but something made me answer. Emilia. His voice was strained, desperate. Thank God. Where are you? Somewhere safe. Safe? Jesus Christ, Em. Do you have any idea what you've done? The FBI showed up at the office today. They're saying, he choked on the words. They're saying I'm under investigation. For fraud. Money laundering. They think I'm part of some criminal organization. Are you? Silence. Then, quietly, I didn't know. Dad handled everything. I just signed where he told me to sign. You knew enough, I said coldly. You always know more than you admit. I need you to come home, to tell them you don't know anything, that I never discussed business with you. If you testify that I kept you in the dark, it'll help my case. No. What? I said no, Marcus. I'm not coming back to save you from your own mistakes. You're my wife. I was your wife. The woman you cheated on, the woman you told to abort your child. That woman is gone. My voice was steady, strong. File the divorce papers. Don't contact me again. Amelia, please. I'm sorry. I know I fucked up, but I need you. I ended the call, my hands shaking. Then I blocked his number, and Vivian's, and his father's. One by one, cutting ties to the life that had nearly destroyed me. Marco appeared in the doorway. Everything okay? Yes. I took a shaky breath. Everything's fine. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Heavy breathing. Then, you think hiding will save you? The voice was distorted, mechanically altered. Fear spiked hot and sharp. Who is this? Someone who knows what you're worth. What you know. Marcus's father made a lot of promises to a lot of dangerous people. Now that those promises are broken. A dark chuckle. Well, wives make excellent leverage. The call ended. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Marco was across the room in an instant, taking the phone from my shaking hands. What happened? Someone. They know. I couldn't form coherent sentences. They said I'm leverage. Marco's face went hard. He pulled out his own phone. Rapid-fire Italian, then, Dante's on his way. 10 minutes. You're okay. You're safe. But I didn't feel safe. I felt hunted. Trapped. Like the walls that had protected me were suddenly closing in. True to Marco's word, headlights swept the driveway exactly 10 minutes later. Dante burst through the door, his suit jacket gone, his shirt sleeves rolled up, blood on his knuckles. His eyes found me immediately. What happened? I told him about both calls, Marcus's desperate plea, then the threat. With each word, Dante's expression grew colder, harder, until he looked like carved marble, beautiful and terrible, and utterly merciless. They made a mistake, he said quietly. Threatening you was a mistake, Dante. No. He crossed to me, cupping my face in his damaged hands. Listen to me. I've spent 5 years living with the guilt of not protecting Sophia, 5 years knowing I failed the one person who mattered. I won't fail again. Do you understand? I will burn down everything and everyone who threatens you. You barely know me, I whispered. I know enough. His thumb traced my cheekbone, impossibly gentle despite the violence I could see lurking in his eyes. I know you're brave and strong and deserving of someone who will fight for you. Let me be that person, Piccola. Let me protect you. What if you can't? Then I'll die trying. He said it simply, as if it were a fact rather than a promise. But it won't come to that, because I'm very good at what I do. Over the next 3 days, I watched Dante dismantle my old life with surgical precision. The fraud investigation exploded across every news channel. Marcus and his father led away in handcuffs, their assets frozen, their reputation destroyed. Private investigators hired to find me suddenly dropped the case after receiving visits from Dante's men. The unknown number that had threatened me went silent after its owner was found, and discouraged. Dante wouldn't tell me details. You don't need that darkness, he'd say whenever I asked, but I could see it in the set of his shoulders. The blood he occasionally came home wearing, the cold satisfaction in his eyes. He was protecting me, violently, completely, without hesitation, and I was falling for him. It happened slowly, then all at once, the way he made sure I ate every meal, the way his hand would drift to my stomach when he thought I wasn't looking, as if already feeling the life growing there, the way he'd sit with me in the library every night, talking about nothing and everything, building something that felt dangerously like intimacy. I should look for an apartment, I said one evening, 2 weeks after I'd arrived. Start applying for jobs, figure out what comes next. Dante looked up from the book he'd been reading, his expression unreadable. You want to leave? I can't stay here forever. Why not? The question hung between us. I had 100 reasons. It wasn't my house. I was imposing. I needed independence. But none of them felt true. The truth was scarier. Because I'm starting to depend on you, I admitted. And that's dangerous. Dangerous how? You're what you do. I struggled to find words that wouldn't sound judgmental. You're not safe. No. He set down his book, giving me his full attention. I'm not safe. I'm a man who does terrible things to protect what's mine, who has enemies and blood on his hands and a past I can't erase. He leaned forward. But you? You're safer with me than you've ever been in your entire life. That's not the same as safe. You're right. He stood, crossing to where I sat. But maybe safe isn't what you need. Maybe what you need is someone who will stand between you and every threat, no matter how dangerous. Someone who sees you, really sees you, and fights to keep you visible to the world. Dante, I'm falling in love with you. The words were blunt, honest, terrifying. I know it's too soon. I know you're vulnerable. I know I should keep my distance. But I can't. Every day I watch you get stronger, watch you grow that baby, watch you become the woman you were always meant to be. And I fall harder, my breath caught. You can't love me. You don't know me. I know you take your tea with honey but no milk. I know you read the last page of books first because you hate surprises. I know you're terrified of being a bad mother, but you'll be extraordinary. I know you cry in the shower when you think no one's listening, mourning the life you thought you'd have. His voice dropped. I know you, Amelia, and I love what I know. Tears spilled down my cheeks. I'm pregnant with another man's baby. You're carrying a child who will be loved and protected because they're part of you. He wiped my tears with gentle thumbs. I don't care about biology. I care about you. About giving you the life you deserve. This is crazy. Maybe. He smiled, small and real. But when has love ever been sane? I kissed him. I couldn't help it. Couldn't resist the pull any longer. His lips were soft and firm at once, tasting like whiskey and promises. He kissed me back carefully, like I was precious, breakable, worth savoring. When we pulled apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. Stay, he whispered. Not as a guest. Not because you have nowhere else to go, but because you want to, because this is where you belong. What about the baby? Our baby. He placed his hand over my still flat stomach. Mine by choice, if not by blood. If you'll let me. More tears came, but these were different. Hopeful. Yes, yes. Yes to staying. Yes to... I took a shaky breath. Yes to trying. To seeing where this goes. His smile was brilliant, transforming his dangerous face into something almost boyish. He kissed me again, deeper this time, and I felt the future shift, realign, reform into something I'd never imagined but desperately wanted. 6 months later, I stood in the garden behind the estate, one hand on my swollen belly, watching Dante argue with the wedding planner about flowers. He wanted peonies, Sophia's favorite. The planner insisted they were out of season. Find them anyway, Dante said, his tone leaving no room for argument. My wife wants peonies. Wife. We'd married quietly 3 months ago, just us and Lucia and a judge who owed Dante a favor. Nothing like the elaborate wedding I'd had with Marcus. This was real, solid, built on truth instead of illusion. The baby kicked, strong and insistent. Our daughter, because yes, we were having a girl, already had her father's stubbornness. She's active today, I said when Dante joined me, his arm sliding around my waist. Like her mother. He pressed a kiss to my temple, strong and fierce and unwilling to be ignored. Marcus had tried to fight the divorce, then tried to use the baby as leverage. Both attempts had failed spectacularly when Dante's lawyers and his less legal resources made it clear that continuing would be unwise. The divorce was finalized 2 months ago. Marcus was in prison, serving 5 years for his role in the fraud. His father got 15. I should have felt guilty, should have felt something other than relief. But all I felt was free. What are you thinking? Dante asked, his hand covering mine on my belly. That I'm happy. I turned to face him. Actually, genuinely happy. For the first time in, I don't know how long. Good. He kissed me softly. That's all I ever wanted. Our daughter kicked again. Harder this time, as if reminding us she was there. Dante laughed, the sound rich and warm. She's going to be trouble, he said. With you as a father? Absolutely. I smiled. But she'll also be loved, protected, always. Seen. He pulled me closer, careful of my belly. Both of you. Always. The garden stretched around us, spring flowers blooming in defiance of the cold I'd felt that November night when I'd walked into Valentino's. So much had changed. So much had been destroyed and rebuilt. I'd vanished from my old life and found a new one. Found a man who loved me not despite my brokenness, but because I'd survived it. Found a family in Lucia's warm kitchen and Dante's fierce protection. Found myself in the process. The pregnancy test that had started everything was gone, thrown away months ago, but I remembered those 2 pink lines. Remembered the fear and hope they'd represented. They'd been a beginning, not an ending. Just like Dante had been. Come inside, he murmured against my hair. Lucia made dinner, your favorite. In a minute. I wanted to stay here, in this moment, with the sun warm on my face, and Dante solid beside me and our daughter safe in my belly. Let's just be here. Together. Together, he agreed. Always together. And standing there in the garden, surrounded by new life and second chances, I believed him. Not because he promised, but because every day he proved it. With gentle hands and fierce protection, and a love that had saved me when I couldn't save myself. I'd vanished on my wedding anniversary, leaving behind a life that was slowly killing me. And I'd found something better, something real. I'd found home.